Right now, what we got going on in the Senate is a big deal. The House has passed what's called the SAVE Act. They passed it earlier this year. And initially, when they passed it in January, it was killed in the Senate when the Democrats controlled it. They passed it again in April. And what SAVE stands for is Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. So it's the SAVE Act, Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. And in this video, the reason why I'm going to break this down is because online, you're going to see a lot of politicians on the Republican side pushing for this thing to be passed. And on the Democrat side, you're going to hear a lot of noise about why they don't want it to be passed. So in this video, I'm going to break down what is actually in the SAVE Act and what the Democrats are using as a reason why we shouldn't pass it, and why exactly the Senate, the Republican-controlled Senate, has not even brought it up for a vote yet, and who's really controlling the Republican senators. Because we found out something about who's really calling the shots on the Republicans in the Senate. And when you hear what this plot allegedly has been up to, it's going to blow your mind. We thought there was only a couple of rhinos. What did we find out is there's a mini network whose agenda is to destroy the America First movement and to keep President Trump from getting anything done, even though they know how to smile and step out and act like they're on the team. In reality, they're more on the Democrat side than they are our side. And Thomas Massie and Rand Paul have already been exposed. And guess what? It's not either one of them and who I'm talking about. So pay attention, because this does impact you. The SAVE Act impacts how you and I will go vote and what type of documentation is required. Matter of fact, I'm not going to waste too much time. So what I'm going to do, I have clips from Stephen Miller, from Byron Donalds. We're even going to hear from Hunter Biden, the BS that he spewed, which is exactly why this is extremely important that the Senate gets this done. So check out this. Before I even get into that, I want to show y'all something, because we're going to go through this video. And when we finish, I highly encourage you to reach out to your senator to get this passed. I sent a message to Senator John Thune just so you can see this. Majority Leader Thune. I reached out to him. I messaged his office. Why? Because I'm doing my part. If I believe in it so much and I'm asking everybody else to do something, I have to be willing to do it too. And we need this passed. So not only have I messaged Majority Speaker Thune, I've messaged other senators. But before I get to Stephen Miller, I want you to check out what the Democrats, what they're saying in this parody video of who they're supporting. Check this out.
I care more about illegal immigrants than American citizens.
A little bit of levity before we get the video going. Now, let me read the bill real quick. Okay, this is the bill of vote. Safeguard American Voter Eligibility. This bill requires documentary proof of U.S. citizenship, e.g. passport or birth certificate, to register to vote in federal elections, and mandates states to remove non-citizens from voter rolls using federal databases. It passed the House on July the 10th, 2024 by a vote of 221 to 198, mostly along party lines, with 5 Democrats joining Republicans. So as you can see there, 198 Democrats voted against verifying identity when going to vote. It stalled in the Democratic-controlled Senate at the time. The bill was reintroduced in early 2025 and passed the House again on April the 10th, 2025, amid a Republican majority, though exact vote tallies from the second passage emphasize bipartisan polling support. 83% of Americans favor proof of citizenship for registration. Democrats criticized it as unnecessary voter suppression that could disenfranchise eligible citizens without easy access to documents. Okay, so they're saying that they calling it racist. They've somehow believed that black people don't have voter IDs and aren't intelligent enough. And wait till you hear some of the other reasons why. But let me get into this Hunter Biden clip before we get into Stephen Miller. Now, listen to what Hunter Biden says. And he is the best spokesperson we have for why voter registration is necessary. And we're not talking about with the driver's license, because you may or may not realize this. When illegal immigrants are brought in, placed on asylum programs, they're given IDs. And that doesn't state our status. But check out what the drug addict felon Hunter Biden had to say.
Got more votes than anyone that has ever run for president of the United States of America, 81 million votes, at higher participation rate than anyone that has ever run for president since 1901. What a goddamn joke.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
This motherfucker, fuck him.
Now I'm gonna pull this back a little bit just so you can see these numbers, because this is what really is the biggest problem. Look at this right here. 69 million, 65 million, 65, 68. But then Biden comes and gets 81 million, a higher number than ever before in the history of the elections. And all of a sudden, it goes back to regular numbers with Kamala 68. You mean to tell me that there was 12 million more people who like Biden over Hillary or over Obama either term? No. That's where that scam stuff came into. Either that or that's 12 million illegal votes. Either which way, they didn't show up when Scamala came, which is why I tend to lean more towards fake votes. They cheated in 2020. And I have a documentary, an expose coming out about that. And I'll make sure you know when it hits. Now, here's what Stephen Miller had to say about what happened and why the SAVE Act is so important. And right after this, I want to let you hear from Byron Donalds. And then I'm going to go over what actually are the requirements and what the Democrats are saying and what other members of the Republican Congress have to say and what they're doing to fight back against it. Check this out. If you're enjoying this video, do me a solid, hit that thumbs up, because I will never ask you for a cash app, a super chat, or a donation. You hitting that like button and hitting that hype button really does help the channel. And if you aren't subscribed to the channel, subscribe. And once you do, to make sure that YouTube sends you the notification when I upload videos, make sure that you hit the notification bell and select all. When you select all, YouTube will make sure that you get notified when I upload new videos.
That's it for your audience perfectly, Sean. This was not a loophole. The Biden administration, Secretary of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, devised a scheme to fly illegal aliens into the country and then to escort them en masse across the border by the millions, and to give them something known as parole, which gives them a work permit, which gives them a social security number, which gives them access to the voting booth. This was the plan all along, to get them here illegally so they can get free government benefits, get hooked to welfare, and be able to participate in American elections. This was an attack on democracy by the Democrat Party. It's the same attack that we see, Sean, when you have California, a sanctuary state, that is refusing to turn over even illegal alien criminals and gang members to ICE. So these are illegal aliens in California who have been arrested by California police, by California law enforcement for serious crimes, for crimes against children, for felonies, for crimes that threaten public safety, and they are refusing to hand these criminal illegal aliens over to ICE. Instead, they're freeing them back into the cities to offend and offend again. By any definition, what California is doing is criminal. It is a violation of our laws. It is one of the most heinous things that I have seen in my entire.
So as you see, California is refusing to let them go. Why? Because they're important voter base. Now listen to what Byron Donalds has to say. Check this out.
235 days since the House passed the SAVE Act, which would secure our elections. Look, the Constitution's clear. You can provide some integration and some framework for our elections, voter ID, things like that. But the Senate's not moving on it. What is going on here?
Listen, the Senate doesn't work. I've been very clear on this one. The filibuster is a major hurdle to getting common sense policy through both chambers of Congress here in Washington, D.C. The SAVE Act is common sense. It should go up for a vote. If Democrat senators want to vote it down, let them be on the record for it. But for it to not even get a vote in the Senate makes no sense. And this is actually one of the big issues we're having here on Capitol Hill. A lot of people are upset. They're saying, well, why isn't Congress doing more? I will tell you, a lot of policy ideas that are filed in the House don't even get to the floor because leadership is concerned. I don't agree with them, but they're concerned about things just going to sit in the Senate and not getting any action. I think we should continue to do our jobs here in the House, send bills over to the Senate, but the Senate has got to start voting for things. If Democrats want to vote things down like the SAVE Act, or if they want to vote down voter ID in federal elections, or if they want to vote down simple common sense things like making sure that illegals are not counted for the purpose of setting congressional districts, that should all be voted for in the United States Senate. And if Democrats vote no, let the American people see that clearly.
Yeah, and get them on the record, like you said. Well, Congressman Byron Donalds, we appreciate it.
So it's going to the Senate, but they're not doing anything on it. And guess what? We found out exactly why. Now, one of the things that they love to use, the Democrats like to say, is it's racist. That if you do this thing where you require certain types of voter IDs, birth certificate, passport, there's other listings, which I will go over with you. That's racist because black and brown people somehow don't have birth certificates or don't have passports and all of this stuff. Listen to what Congressman Wesley Hunt, who's running for Senate in Texas, has to say about it, because I agree with his sentiment. The Democrats always want to make things racist. Check this out.
Now, I'm sitting here right now, and I got to tell y'all, I'm black, and I'm a veteran. I have 6 forms of government ID. 6. I've been black for my whole life. I've been a veteran since 2000 when I was at West Point. The insinuation that black and brown people cannot get an ID to vote like every other citizen, regardless of your race, religion, color, or creed, is insulting. I actually refer to this as the soft bigotry of low expectations. We, as all Americans, should want free and fair elections. We aren't making it more difficult for people to get an ID to vote. I have an 18-month-old little boy. Do you know the first thing that he got when he was born that I had to sign for? A birth certificate. Now, I'm sitting here right now, and I got to tell y'all, I'm
A birth certificate. But they act like they play on this whole racial thing, and we blame Democrats 100%. But what if we found out that there was actually people on our team that are helping spearhead this thing along? This article came out from Revolver that says War Room reveals Lindsey Graham is the muscle behind the entire Rhino movement. Check this out. I'm going to read some of this article because it was mind-blowing. Let me make it bigger. Right now is the open enrollment period for healthcare, which is why I want to take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsor of this video and partner of the channel, Chapter. Chapter is helping seniors right now who are confused. Some are just new to having to get Medicare. Others who already have Medicare but want to make sure they got the best Medicare plans available. I highly encourage you to reach out to Chapter. Chapter has highly skilled, unbiased agents that are helping seniors make sure that they've got the best Medicare plans available, because it sucks to find out your prescriptions are no longer covered and your doctor is no longer in network on the plan you currently have. The phone call is absolutely free, and it could go as quick as 20 minutes. In less than 20 minutes, you can find out to make sure you got the best Medicare plan available. And the great news about it is that Chapter has been helping seniors save as much as $1,100 a year, making sure they have the best Medicare plan. So I'm sure you can find something to do with an extra $1,100 in your pocket. So don't waste time. It's extremely important to protect yourself and protect your health. So give Chapter a call or follow the website at askchapter.org/realpolitics and make sure you've got the best Medicare plans available. Mind blowing. Most Americans still think the biggest problem in Washington is a bunch of useless, spineless Republicans who are too weak to fight. But according to Oversight's Mike Howell, that's the nice version of what's happening. The truth is much darker. A shocking number of GOP lawmakers aren't just dummies or cowards. They're active participants in the machine that's been weaponized against MAGA from day one. And Howell breaks down exactly where this rot started. Lindsey Graham. The same Lindsey Graham who told John McCain to take the fake Steele dossier and hand it to the FBI. The same Lindsey who held hearings that amplified the narrative, and the same Lindsey who quietly slipped in provisions that funneled millions back to himself. Though this is the real story, the one polite Republicans pretend not to know. In this War Room segment, Mike Howell lays it all out. Republicans in Congress weren't innocent bystanders during the Trump-Russia hoax or even now. They are accomplices, and Lindsey's been leading the charge. Republicans built the weapon that was ultimately turned against the American people and the MAGA movement. Now let's listen to Mike Powell hear what's going on with the Rhino, Lindsey Graham. Check this out.
The Republicans in Congress are more than useful idiots. A lot of them are willing participants in the weaponization of government, which, as you guys know, goes back a decade. Arctic Frost is the same continuum as everything else since Trump came down that escalator and the Russia hoax and so forth. You have Lindsey Graham, who told his pal John McCain to turn over the dossier to the FBI. This is where it started in the hearings that he supported and held, in the messaging that he did in those crucial years to seed the narrative. He's the same one who, in this bill to reopen the government, snuck in a provision to pay himself tens of millions of dollars due to Arctic Frost. And if you go over to the House of Representatives, does anybody remember the Weaponization Committee? It was supposed to be the big bad version of the January 6th committee to stop this stuff in its tracks over the Biden administration. Instead of that, we got nothing. They did not spend the money. They did not staff up. And guess what? They ignored the things they're pretending to be surprised about now. They knew about Arctic Frost as it was going on. They did nothing. Don't believe me? Go on their Twitter feed on the Weaponization Committee. Look up the term Arctic Frost. See if you see anything. And it's not because they were not told. And so, yes, we do need to call on Congress to do something. But you might as well write a letter to Santa, CC the Easter Bunny, pay off a kid on the Make-A-Wish Foundation and ask Congress to do something. It still probably won't work, but we still have to do it. And leadership and the chairman have to call the votes. And the reason they don't want to is because they know they will probably lose those votes. But guess what? We need to know who's on the team and who's not. And the purpose of leadership is not to give cover to those who aren't in this fight. And those same people who would vote against these things are going to be the same people that, should the Democrats win the midterms and then the presidency, will be sitting there and gleefully watching the full freight of weaponization. And as you said, they'll go all the way next time. They'll watch it and cheer it on and see it as an extinguishing of the MAGA movement.
Wow. So, we got people on the inside, and Lindsey Graham, he has no children, right? So anybody, and he's a war hawk. So when you have no children, you really have no dog in this fight, where after you leave this planet, you don't really care what happens. After Lindsey Graham is dead and gone, why does he care? He doesn't have any children, any lineage, and his parents will be gone. So we got a war hawk like him that had his little mini circle that are in there potentially fighting against the America First agenda, which is why I decided to send a message to Speaker Thune, who also may be another rhino. Because these folks talk tough in front of the camera, but then behind the scene moves nothing. So now we got this SAVE Act, and check out what's in the SAVE Act. Here's the overview of it. I've never been a fan of Lindsey Graham, and that's who you heard that project, that gentleman from Operation Project talking about. Lindsey Graham. It's always Lindsey Graham. He's always the one to go for a war, one to subtly, he does these sort of things. That's why President Trump attacks him every chance he gets. He knows Lindsey Graham is a snake, but the people in South Carolina, for whatever reason, keep reelecting him. And as you heard, he was even about to sue the government under Trump for what the Biden administration did under Arctic frost. How crazy is that? But that's Lindsey Graham. Now here's what's in the quick summary of the SAVE Act. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act will require all American citizens registering to vote or updating their registration information to present documentary proof of citizenship in person. For the vast majority of Americans, this will be a passport or birth certificate. So number one, you have to show a passport or birth certificate. Luckily, I've got both. As a matter of fact, anybody that's born here can easily get your birth certificate. Easily. Just go down with your ID and they'll give you a copy of it. Or you can pay a couple bucks, order it online, and even get it overnighted to you. You've got more than enough time between now and November to get a birth certificate or to get a passport. And getting a passport, I thought I had mine in here. I got my passport in 3 or 4 weeks? Matter of fact, my wife and I paid for expedited service because I think it was going to be like 6 to 8 weeks. But it was like $175. We got our passports. But these are the two things to prove you're an American citizen. Now, let me ask you, put it in the comments. Would you be willing to do that in person to avoid non-Americans voting? I would. So government issued driver's licenses, including real IDs, as well as military or tribal IDs, do not satisfy the bill's requirements. Because as you heard Stephen Miller say, under the parole system, illegal immigrants, parolees, get a work permit, they get a social security number, and they get access to a driver's license. So that's no longer, remember when you could just show your driver's license and you were good because they weren't trying to manipulate the system like that? Now we know Democrats are allowing illegal immigrants to vote, and requiring identification is critical. And if the Republicans don't pass this and don't do a filibuster to get this done, we know what side they're on. And let's just face it. If the Democrats get back in power, we know they are going to nuke that filibuster. Right now, the Republicans could pass the SAVE Act without any Democrat votes if they nuke the filibuster. And they're saying we want to uphold tradition. This next round of Democrats don't care about American tradition. Matter of fact, they're trying to tear it down. I don't know if they think they're still going up against the old school Democrats, how Schumer and them used to be back in the day, where they might spit their ideology, but they were still about upholding Senate tradition, congressional tradition, which is why the filibuster is still in place. It could have been nuked a long time ago, but there's certain traditions that people wanted to avoid being the first party to nuke it, because then that justifies when the other party comes in and say, well, y'all did it, so what's good for the goose is good for the gander. But so the Republicans are upholding to that. At least that's what they're telling us their reasoning is, even though it might be something even more dark. We could just be, listen, let it happen. And here's what I don't understand. If they were to allow illegal immigrants to vote and the Democrats regain power, what do these Republicans think is going to happen to them? Which might be why they make their investments, hoard all their cash, where if they get voted out, they're not going to live for maybe 10, 15, 20 more years. They'll ride off in the sunset. When you got Senate members like Chuck Grassley, who's 91, fighting like it's nobody's business for the American people. And we know, but he has children. He's got a lineage that he cares about. That's important. The legislation would invert the responsibility to verify a person's eligibility and citizenship status from election officials and the government onto every single American citizen, making citizens convince the government that they're eligible to exercise their right to vote. I'm all for it. The SAVE Act would change the way all citizens register to vote upon enactment. It would end online voter registration, make it impossible to mail in a registration application, and eliminate voter registration drives. I'm with that. Go in person. Let them see you show your proof of documentation. And we've got more than enough time between now and November where there'd be no excuses for anybody. But here's some other reason they got. Approximately 146 million American citizens do not possess a valid passport. For context, 153 million Americans voted in the 2024 presidential general election. High rates of passport ownership are overwhelmingly concentrated in blue states, while low rates are concentrated in red states. Where are they getting that data from? In 7 states, less than 1/3 of citizens have a valid passport: West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Oklahoma. Only in 4 states do more than 2/3 of citizens have a valid passport: New York, Massachusetts, California, and New Jersey. Well, so what? If that's going to be the new law, that's going to be what it is. People have to go and get a passport or go get their birth certificate. But they keep talking about this passport as if every American citizen doesn't get a birth certificate. And there is a database now where no matter what hospital you were born in, if it's still around or not, you can get your passport. It says 84% of women who marry change their surname, meaning as many as 69 million American women do not have a birth certificate with their legal name on it, and thereby could not use their birth certificate to prove citizenship. The SAVE Act makes no mention of being able to show a marriage certificate or a change of name documentation. So that might be one thing that they may have to put in there. But I honestly don't believe that that's as big of an issue as they're making it. I don't believe that that's that big of an issue, that these same women can't show their driver's license, their birth certificate, and I can see where a marriage license is needed. I take that back. You do need that. So they would have to make an amendment for that. The SAVE Act possesses a serious socioeconomic issue that would disproportionately impact working class and lower income Americans. Only 1 in 4 Americans with a high school degree or less have a valid passport. Only 1 in 5 Americans with income below $50,000 have a valid passport. That's probably because they haven't applied for one. Young Americans, those 18 to 29, those with college and postgraduate levels of education, wealthy Americans, and those who identify as liberal or Democrat are the most likely groups to possess the required forms of documentation. Well, shouldn't that make them even more for it? Because wouldn't that mean that it'd be less Republicans being able to vote than Democrats, even in a fair election? So that would be great for them, wouldn't it? So why does it not make sense that the Democrats are the biggest ones pushing back against it? See, the devil is in the details, where the fact of the matter is, I don't believe half of this crap that they put out here on this site. This is supposed to be the AmericanProgress.org. I don't know. How do they know that? How do they know that those who identify as liberal or Democrat, as it says, the most likely groups to possess that required form? There's never been a survey that went out asking, do you have a passport or do you have your birth certificate? This is all what they call guesstimation and propaganda to push back against passing it, because they know the moment that passed, oh my God, the game changes. And when the playing field is level, Republicans run the game. They know it. But the rhinos know it. This is what I don't get. See, we even got people on our party who don't want to see Trump shine because they're saying, damn, we'd have been Republicans our whole career. We'd have been in Congress and in the Senate for 20, 30 years. This man comes in like a whirlwind, and when 7 or 8 years takes over the party, gets so much done, showing just how little we actually do and exposing how weak we are in our seats, in our positions of power in the government. And not all of them. As a matter of fact, the ones with the biggest names do the least because they spend so much time on talk shows and gallivanting around. Then how can they be doing the work? I believe it's the senators and congressional members we never hear of, because they're so busy doing the work and they're not willing to play that game and be lying and doing all this. Man, they just do what they need to do for their constituents. And since they do that, they will never be ones elevated to the national stage. You know why? Because they're actually good people. They don't want good people brought up on that front stage like that. They want people that can be easily manipulated or controlled. And that's why they despise President Trump, because they can't control him. Not like they want to. They can control him by not passing certain pieces of legislation, not bringing things up for a vote. Yeah. But that's why they exercise that, because in any other way, they can't control the man. And Lindsey Graham, you need to do everything we can to let Lindsey Graham know how we feel about him. He needs to be voted out. But coastal elites are the least likely group to be adversely affected by the bill. Republicans are less likely to possess a passport, and conservative and Republican-leaning women are twice as likely to have changed their name. So Republican women are twice as likely to have been divorced than Democrat women. See, the crap that they're spewing and the reasoning just don't make sense. So in essence, the impacts, even small changes such as moving into an apartment building, moving down the block, or changing party affiliation are considered voter registration updates. Under the SAVE Act, Americans will have to go in person to their election office and present original or certified documentation to make any voter registration change. This would make civic participation much more difficult for tens of millions of citizens, and every election cycle would outright disenfranchise millions more. The policies of the SAVE Act would also be in addition to state voter ID laws that require voters to show identification at the polls. So without even going through all the rest of this stuff, you get the gist of it. Everything else is just talking about online voter registration, how it services, 42 states rely on it. Yep, and it's fraudulent. Mail in, we know how fraudulent that is. Automatic voter registration, which is what the Democrats were using with these parolees, where when they got their driver's licenses, they were automatically, if they checked that box, they were automatically being enrolled. And guess which political party they were being placed in? Just like that superintendent, that illegal immigrant superintendent of schools in Iowa, that was a felon, had multiple gun charges, drug charges, and was hired to be the superintendent of the Iowa schools, and was a registered Democrat voter in Maryland. But they say illegal immigrants can't vote, right? Right. So I just wanted to bring you this update on what's going on with the SAVE Act. And please, you saw, I sent one to my senator, and I sent one to the majority speaker of the House. Listen, I'm sure everybody that watched this isn't going to do it, but I pray that there's a few of you that are willing. And let me give you the way that you can send them a message. You can go to Google and type in email, whatever your senator's name is, and it'll take you to their website. What I did, though, I hunted for Senator Thune's Senate email, and I sent it there. And it did kick it back saying, we don't want emails coming to this, use this. And I had to go on his main Senate page, which they gave me, and I put in my message. But regardless, I sent it that way, and I sent the other way. And with Senator Scott, I just sent it through on his site after going through what I went through with Senator Thune. Should I say with Senator Scott? It should be going through here shortly. But make sure, send him a message. Get him to pass it. Post it on your social media. Go to X and tag your senator and an X post saying pass it. That's even cool. But just do our part to let them know, pass this. We want this passed. Help us save and protect our elections from the Democrats and these illegal immigrants. But if you stayed and hung out with me, leave a comment. Tell me what you think. Should we just leave it like it is? Or do you agree with no more of this online crap? You got to go in. You got to use your birth certificate and your passport to validate and verify that you're an American citizen. Are you with that? And if you did stay and watch it up to this point, I want to thank you from the top and bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate you. And if you haven't already, hit that like button. And if you aren't subscribed already, subscribe. And most importantly, make sure that you stay safe and that you be great. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.